In Europe, religious wars between Catholics and Protestants really is what forced many of the colonists to come to the New World. There was political struggles between Catholics and Protestants within England. That's why English settlers were willing to brave everything to face an uncertain destiny. Really, between 1600 and 1640, 80,000 colonists fled England, and by 1660, another 80,000 had followed. Most of the Puritans emigrated with their families, or they sent for them soon afterwards. They were striving to do God's work and avoid temptation. So Puritan leaders dictated that single men and women not live on their own. Instead, Puritan families would cluster together in small towns. They centered on the village meeting house, or they called it the Lord's barn. There, even in New England, there was very, very cold winters. Townspeople gathered to pray midweek, as well as twice on Sundays. Ministers headed the community. Puritans shared authority and developed a form of self-government. Voters were required to be male church members. These select men dispensed land, determined taxes, and settled arguments. Puritans also stressed literacy. They wanted the kids to understand the Bible. But it wasn't all good. The Puritans Roger Williams and Anne Hutchinson threatened church authority, and they had to leave. They were forced to flee to Rhode Island, and then other people, dissidents, we'll call them, are going to follow. Okay, so in the southern colonies, by the 1600s, plantation economy had taken root in Maryland. That's a very large farm plantation economy. It also happened in Virginia and parts of the Carolinas. It was a labor-intensive cultivation of tobacco, which demanded many stages. At first, southern planters relied on unskilled indentured servants. Indentured servants are people who could not afford to pay their own way over to the New World, so someone else would pay for them, and thus they would work for them until they paid off their debt. Beginning in the early 1600s, though, the Spanish and the Dutch trading ships began to bring in African Americans to the southern colonies. The institution of slavery quickly became a racial caste system. Think of the Indian caste system that you learned in global studies, in which even free Americans found their political and human rights obliterated. Laws controlling their rights and activities forbid enslaved persons to testify in court, engage in commerce, politics. They couldn't travel independently. They would hold property, or they couldn't marry without permission. The middle colonies, unlike New England, were rocky. But lush farms are able to be created in the middle colonies, even though it'll be a shorter growing season than thus the South. Many Northern Europeans are going to move to the middle colonies. In Pennsylvania, Quakers will move there, and they have a religious belief called pacifism. It's opposition to the use of force. It's going to have a similar economy to New England. Fishing, farming, working with raw manufactured goods. Hey guys, so that's the colonial system that I just got done describing. You have the New England colonies in the north, the middle colonies, go figure where they are, and the southern colonies. Remember, the New England colonies and the middle colonies are very similar. Short growing season, more manufacturing in the middle colonies than New England, but still manufacturing in both. Fishing is a huge part of the industry. Boat building is a huge part of the industry. In the South, we have farms, which we call plantations. Huge, huge farms. And guys, what we're talking about here is economics. Economics, I know a lot of people like to think about it as being money, and it is, but it's also about how we use our raw materials. And that's what really set up success for these colonies before really England truly starts to get involved with something called mercantilism. If you don't know what that word is, why don't you look it up? Get ahead of us. Good luck on your quiz.